Ladies and gentlemen, we live in an age of uncertainty, where silence is deceptive and calm is temporary. And perhaps nowhere is that more true than in the long, bitter standoff between Iran and Israel. The missiles haven't rained down across cities, at least not yet. The leaders haven't officially declared war, but the hostility is unmistakable. So today, we ask the question, is it already over or not? Are we in the middle of a slow-moving war that hasn't been named yet? Or is there still time, a final chance, to pull back from the edge? This conflict didn't begin with a missile or a deal. It began with a revolution. In 1979, Iran's Islamic Revolution transformed the region. The new theocratic leadership saw Israel not as a neighbor, but as a colonial enemy, a Zionist occupier, and a Western outpost in Muslim lands. Death to Israel became a political chant, not just a slogan, but a foreign policy position. Israel, a state born from trauma, the Holocaust, persecution, exile, took those threats literally. It had to. For Israel, threats to its existence are never theoretical. They are existential. If there is a fuse at the center of this crisis, it is Iran's nuclear program. Iran insists it seeks peaceful energy. Israel and many Western analysts are unconvinced. Iran has enriched uranium up to 60%, a stone's throw from the 90% needed for nuclear weapons. The International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, confirms these levels. Israel calls this the zone of immunity, the point where Iran's facilities are too hardened, too dispersed, too deep underground to be effectively struck. In other words, the military option is closing fast. And that makes the question urgent. If not now, when? The truth is, war may already be happening, just not in the way we traditionally define it. Israel and Iran have fought a shadow war for years, Iranian scientists assassinated in the streets. Nuclear sites hit by cyber attacks like Stuxnet, Israeli airstrikes in Syria targeting Iranian weapons convoys, proxy wars from Gaza to Yemen. But since October 7th, the shadows are receding. Hamas's brutal terror attack, killing over 200 people in Israel, was backed, trained, and emboldened by Iran. Hezbollah in Lebanon now launches regular cross-border attacks. Iran is no longer hiding, and Israel, it's no longer waiting. The battlefield has expanded. In Lebanon, Hezbollah holds more than 150,000 rockets, capable of hitting every inch of Israel. In Iraq and Syria, Iranian-backed militias have attacked U.S. bases, trying to drive the West out of the region. In Yemen, the Houthis have fired missiles at commercial ships in the Red Sea. For Iran, this is a war of proxies. For Israel, it's a war of survival. The front lines are no longer at the border, they're everywhere. Zoom out even further, and the picture grows darker. The United States is focused on Ukraine, Taiwan, and election politics. Russia is working hand in glove with Iran, especially on drone warfare. China is playing peacemaker, brokering deals between Iran and Saudi Arabia, not out of love for peace, but to fill the vacuum left by the West. The Arab world is fragmented. Some states like the UAE and Bahrain have normalized with Israel, while others remain silent or cautious. Israel feels increasingly alone. For decades, it relied on America's deterrence. Now, it may believe it has to act alone. Inside Israel, pressure is building. October 7th changed everything. It shattered the myth of Israeli intelligence invincibility. It left a deep national scar. Prime Minister Netanyahu is politically wounded, facing protests, investigations, and blame. In times of crisis, leaders sometimes seek external conflict to restore internal unity. But let's be clear, even Netanyahu's opponents in the military and intelligence circles agree the threat is real, the clock is ticking. So, is this already war? The weapons are in motion, the alliances are in flux, and the diplomacy that once slowed this conflict, deadlocked. We are witnessing what historians call the prelude to war, the final days before the storm. And yet, war is not inevitable. There is still a path, narrow, difficult, and unpopular, that leads to restraint, containment, and even negotiation. But it requires leadership from beyond Tel Aviv and Tehran. It requires Washington, Brussels, Riyadh, and Beijing to care. Because if they don't, They will only be able to watch as the next war in the Middle East unfolds. The final truth is this: it's not over. But it could be, violently, suddenly, and without warning. Or it could de-escalate, with the right mix of pressure and diplomacy. The future isn't written yet. But if we fail to ask this question today, if we ignore the fuse burning slowly, we may have no choice but to answer it after the blast. Over or not? The next chapter is being written now. Let's hope it's written with words, not war.